welcome back. This is Tony the Hoofer, rounding out the new player guide to Football Manager 16, which I'm very much hoping will be a good lead into Football Manager 18, which releases in a couple of months. We're entering transfer deadline day, and we're going to take part so I can show you what to expect. It's all very exciting stuff. Taking part in the transfer deadline day seems to give you a better chance to finish off transfers that you're trying to make, or to make last minute transfers for outbound players. We've got one we've got one transfer on the go, and we've got Ruben Duarte. We've scouted him fully, and because we don't have enough cover on our left-hand side, we've made an offer for him. He had a release clause of £7.25 million, which for a $2.7 million rated player is really good. It's only 3 times his current ability, but for a 19-year-old Spaniard who is great in a lot of areas and is not so good in some other areas, but these aren't huge things, and hopefully we can do some training to improve these areas. He's got a potential ability of 4.5 stars, which puts him above Alberto Moreno, so he's a really good purchase for us. If we can land that, that'll be great. Hopefully no one will beat us to him. The transfer deadline is 6 p.m. Tonight, Monday. Yes, that's right. So this is our last day. We have options for... No, we are not interested in him. We've got transfer registration window. So squad registration is very much the same as we saw for when we added players to our training camp. I've already added players in here, I believe. You get an option to do it earlier in the window. Because we've got such a young... we've got such a small first team and so many youngsters, we have no problems with this. We've got spaces for an extra 4 players, so I anticipate he'll be an under 19 player, so he won't need to be included here. I'm going to check something by turning the hide players who are unavailable off. I want to make sure that we've got no injured players that should be involved. So the only one there, as per the message that we got earlier, was the injured John Flanagan, and he's injured until after the summer transfer window, when we can edit this again. So we won't be making any changes here today. Yes, unregistered player John Flanagan, he won't be back before then anyway. Paris Saint-Germain are making an offer for Lucas Leiva for £8 million. That's ridiculous. Paris Saint-Germain are one of the richest clubs in the world. If they're going to get Lucas off us, they're going to be paying £30 million, and they've understandably withdrawn that offer. The problem being that them having made that offer, Lucas is going to be after a contract improvement or just some guarantees that he'll be getting playing time. He'll also try and push for the transfer, I'd imagine. Our young right back that we brought in, a lot of teams want to bring him out on loan. I've set him to be unavailable for loans. So no, I haven't. That's why we're still getting loan offers for him. I'm setting him to unavailable for loan because I don't want him to be going anywhere. Lucas Leiva is keen to discuss his future because he will want to join Paris Saint-Germain. It's very, very frustrating in that there's no option to say the finances were nowhere near your value. The nearest thing you've got is the finances weren't right on the deal. That's the truth. I wouldn't mind selling Lucas if we could make a lot of money. I'd be prepared to play the season a little short-handed in midfield if we could sell him for £30 million. But there's no option to explain that, so I will just let him know that the finances weren't right on the deal. And if they come back with a reasonable offer, then we'll accept that. They're not going to, but you never know. Oh, neat. Riala after Emre Can. So I'm going to set his transfer value really high. Like, really high. Hopefully that will dissuade them. And Paris Saint-Germain are after Lovren. I don't know what they're trying to lowball us for. That's insane. He's worth £10 million, £11 million, and he's still got at least 5 years of gameplay left in him. You need to pay me. I know you're rich. What is the total value? Before I changed it, oops, we'll undo that. The total value is 8.5. 2 and a bit million less than what he's worth. That's insanity. That they're trying. This is just to unsettle the player, and so I will give them a ridiculous offer. We'll have to do the same thing with Lovren now. Finances weren't right, but if they come back, I'm not too fussed. These players will get angry with me if Paris Saint-Germain do come back to us with a improved offer, but I don't care. Neither of them are core players for us. I would rather have grumpy players at the club than selling players just to keep them from being grumpy. I genuinely don't care in the slightest what their opinions are at present. Their opinions will improve with some game time and some mollycoddling from me, but I'm not prepared to lose money on these players. Zidane is the last player I'd ever sell Emre Can to. He should consider this a hands-off warning. Yeah, I absolutely don't want to give Zidane the slightest hope that he'll get Can. We'll likely now get Can coming to us saying that he wants to move there, but we will see. Speculation persists that Emre Can could leave. They might be very well interested, but I have no intention of selling. Duarte is going to join us. Fantastic. For £7.25 million. That is absolutely wonderful. We've ended up with a decent... we've made some transfers out, which have ended up with us having some extra money. I believe getting Colo Colo and Enrique off the wage budget allowed us to move this in favour of having some more money to do transfers with. And that's why we've ended up being able to afford a £7.25 million player. What I would like to do, I'm going to have a quick look for one last look to see if there's any midfielders that we can convince to join us. Because I do feel that we're short there. Not position. I want to see if there's any midfielders who are available on loan. Teddy Bishop. 19-year-old with some unlikely to want to sell him, but a good dribbling midfielder, that's great. He's certainly not ready for first team, and he has some work to do to get his strength up and his athleticism up. Let's have a closer look at him. Yeah, he's missing a lot of the physicality that we'd like. He's injured for 5 to 10 days. We'll check his injury history. No, he had a back strain that lasted 6 months. But that was when he was 16. Hasn't reoccurred since, so... I'm going to make an offer for him. He's worth 2. Let's try let's try 6.2. They want 10 for him. We'll try 7.2. It's probably a little bit high for what I believe his worth is. The percentage of the profit from his next sale, I don't normally like doing that at all, so I'll remove that. I'll bump that up to 8. remove that and that. We're probably paying over the odds a little for him, but there's no harm being a little bit generous with the amount of money that we're spending. Oh, Will Hughes is out for 6 months, bummer. Actually, this guy was great if I recall. Yeah, we did some scouting on him before. How much did we offer for Teddy just then? 8.8 effectively. Let's see if we can get a player who I think is slightly better and more versatile. Oh, that's right, he had some odd placements, didn't he? That's okay. I'll see what they think. So we'll go straight up to 8. Okay, that's a club that definitely doesn't want to sell. So we'll stick with Teddy Bishop for the moment, see if we can sneak something in. We're 9 AM in the morning, 9:15 in the morning. Duarte, he's arrived. He looks. The assistant thinks he looks good. The fans, once again, just don't seem to mind. It's very hard to get the fans excited. You need to get a really massive player to get the fans excited. We'll send him on an intensive language course, and we'll ask Henderson to speak with him. We'll set his training immediately as well, so we don't forget about that. Left-sided defender, we want him to be a fullback, because that's what we typically play. And his being 20, was he? 19. His being 19, we can still do some... wow, he's got excellent stats. We might look to see if we can improve his jumping reach. He'll likely not do very well with it, because I imagine he's not very tall. Oh, he's 5'11". He should be able to do it. He should be able to improve jumping reach a little bit. They've accepted that offer. Great. We for a hot prospect, £13,000 is fine. After 30 games, you can be paid that amount. Each year, you're going to get. I hate pay rises. We're not going to give you any pay rises, but we will give you a bonus for. Where is it? For seasonal landmark goals. If you score 5 goals as a midfielder, as a youngster, we'll pay you that much. What do you think? That seems fine to me. No point quibbling too much. We've got everything we want from him. Great. It'll be interesting to see how good he is. I've had to sign them blind because we've not made... That's no better. You're not even paying his... What did I just say? I can't sell him for less than he's worth, otherwise we'll end up getting the fans angry with us. So it's not worth doing. Do I plan to loan out Shei Ojo? No, his development's better here. Lovren's going to come back to us now and say, I thought you wanted to... Oh, what's happened here? Okay. So what's happened here is that we've got that money in the bank, but we haven't, after the transfer of Duarte, we needed to rearrange our finances. I'm not going to do it here because you're only able to adjust the budget so many times before the board start getting iffy with it. So what we'll do is we'll adjust the budget automatically and let the transfer happen. I think using that adjust button doesn't count towards the amount of alterations that you've made to the budget. Liverpool signed Bishop. Yeah, cool. He looks great. I think he's worth it. Mixed reception. Yeah, cool. We'll see what the public at large think of this transfer, because that's a lot of money to spend on a player that young. They'll likely give it a quizzical look, but we don't mind. We're happy to have a midfielder who can play both deep lying playmaker and a advanced playmaker. It gives us some options. His focus, his being young, we really want to get his. He's got good balance, good agility, and good acceleration. Those are the most important parts of being a midfielder. We're going to try and get his stamina up because that stamina is embarrassingly bad. We'll see how we go. How seriously has your transfer budget been depleted? The bank isn't completely empty, that's not true. We won't be doing any further business of the incoming type. I have nothing to spend, that's correct. Perhaps surprisingly, it's been quiet. I think we'll see. Time's running out. These comments don't matter. I don't think. I see a busy final day. Yeah, I'm sure someone will make some moves at the last. Or perhaps not. Transfer deadline has passed. Very good. Transfer window roundup. Oh, Chelsea bought Sado Berahino. Arsenal bought Fred from Shakhtar. Jesse was bought by Man United from Real. And we were the busiest. We bought 4 players. Chelsea were the biggest spenders, unsurprisingly for Chelsea. And that's the end of the transfer window. So before I, after this, the season proceeds as we've seen with standard training, with team training, which I should turn back now. Actually, we've finished the preseason. We need to change away from fitness to balanced. All of our players should be nice and fit by now. I probably should have done this before our first Premier League game, but that's fine. A bit of extra fitness doesn't hurt the lads. We've got a very busy calendar in here. So what we'll actually need to do when we're playing this many games, when we're playing 2 games a week, we could choose to have a rest after the match, which would take down our match preparation. Our tactics training still isn't complete though. If we have a look here, we can see that we've still got a good way to go on the bar. We're about 60% of the way. We want to be 100%. So we're not going to have rests after the match until we've gotten our tactics fully trained. What we'll do instead is I've set this to balanced. I'll keep that match tactics as our training that we do before games. What we'll do instead though, when our players are tired, is we'll go to the squad page. We'll right click on players who are particularly tired. We'll sort them by their con. Actually, let me tidy this up a little. For example, were Henderson available? Here's a better example. Here's a player who is available. If we had a game coming up in a couple of days, I would right click on Nathaniel Klein, I would go to training, and I would say rest for 1, 2, 3 days or a week, depending on how tired he was. If we had a game in 2 days, I would rest him for the full 2 days to try and get back to, from 78, I would expect he'd get back to about 89, 90, 92, somewhere around there. I'd say it's somewhere between 6 and 10% of their total physical condition per day rested. So it's a very, very important tool to use, and it's much sharper instrument than setting resting days for the entire team. You want these guys to be training as much as they possibly can be. Firstly, because it keeps them improving if they can improve, or for players who are older and their stats are starting to decline, if they keep training, their stats should stay up, as I understand it. Their stats are more likely to stay up, is more correct, I'd say. The other area that I wanted to show, I've forgotten now, and that's frustrating. I think that's probably everything. If I remember the thing that I desperately needed to show you before I sign off on this. I wanted to show you the calendar that we've been through. So we've had a couple of good games in the league. We've had 2 wins and a draw. We were looking good. We were in 4th position then. Then we went to Man City away and just got beaten off the park. Simon Mignolet had a good game, but as did Klein and Moreno. But our Mamadou Sakho let us down quite terribly. He was not good in that game. Understandably, Man City is one of the best teams in the league, so we've dealt with one of the ugliest games to expect in the league. Early on, we've taken a knock and we've dropped down to 7th in the league from 4th, but that's not a big deal. The more frustrating was the away draw to Norwich. I think we put quite a few shots on goal here, but we just couldn't do anything with it. Milner missed a penalty, that's right. Oh, that was a killer. Missing a penalty by shooting straight down the guts. The keeper just stayed there and the ball bounced off him. I was so frustrated that I wanted to sell Milner, but I can't because we just bought him this season. One of their defenders was the best man in the match, but we weren't great. They had more shots than us. We had more on target. It was just a poor game, all told. But that's how we look. I don't know. I may keep this career going. I may not. I'll keep playing for a little while in case there's anything I wanted to add to the tutorial. But I don't think there's really anything more to go through. After this point, it's very much a process of resting your players, adequately so that they're fit to play games, of managing injuries, of cycling in young players in games where you think they can play without without risking dropping points. That's what it was. The last thing that you need to know about is, in addition to training, there's also another way of improving your young players. That is, where's one of our best guys? Hida Te Avist is a right back who has a balanced personality. Balanced personality is fine, but it's not a bad personality. It's perfectly in the middle, but there's much better personalities that we want. We want to try and create professional players. Model professional players are the best to work with. They're just superb. Their work ethic is second to none. They will almost always get very, very close to their maximum potential because they're driven to achieve as much as they can. A balanced personality is very likely not to. So we want to try to change his personality into an ambitious player, a professional player, a resolute player. There's a number of personality types that we want him to try to get towards. So because he's a young player, we're able to select tutoring for him. He's under 23, so we can select tutoring, and we can select between players that play in similar positions to him to mentor him effectively. So we could have him mentored by Martin Skirtle, who's resolute. That's an excellent option. Resolute under Mamadou Sakho is another excellent option, but I want him to be mentored by Nathaniel Klein, who's fairly professional. Fairly professional is a step down from professional, but still excellent. Nathaniel Klein, being 24, is able to tutor people, I believe. But he's not on this list. I think I can speak to him directly. And there we go. By speaking to him directly, I'm able to ask him to tutor Hida van Avest. There's 2 options in here. The first one, mentoring off the pitch, doesn't teach any of the players' preferred moves. But I really like the way that Klein plays. I like him getting forward wherever possible. I like him running with the ball. I like him knocking ball past opponents, and I like him running with the ball often. He's got good enough dribbling for the role that he plays, and he's got excellent pace. So he should be able to move the ball past the opposition quite easily. We're going to look to train Hida Te Avest the same way, and he's already got some of those skills. His dribbling needs some work, but there's no harm in him picking up these preferred moves early on. We can also train young players. I don't think this has been mentioned previously. We can also train young players to do preferred moves, and I think we did have a look at this, but I don't want to do that. It takes a long time, and this player is already unhappy with the amount of training that he's doing. So we will go to Nathaniel Klein, go to interaction. Where was... Oh, I think hopefully we can go back to the chat. We'll go forward to the chat. Strange. Oh, there we go. We're already in the tutoring chat, that's why. So I'd like him to train him, to tutor him, and using the stop option, we'll do both his mentality and his preferred moves. Hopefully he'll accept. Oh, damn. So, Klein doesn't want to do it. I'll try to... I'll ask him if... I'll suggest it'll be beneficial. No. Okay. He's flatly refused. Damn it. That's okay. We've got plenty of other options. Let's have him tutored by... He would have been great. He would have been great. Let's have him tutored by... We'll have a quick look at Skirtle. He dives into tackles. We don't want that. Mamadou Sekou marks opponents tightly, tries to play his way out of trouble and dives into tackles. We don't want that either. So what we'll do is we'll get Skirtle to tutor him, but we won't get him to tutor him on the pitch. We'll see if he'll tutor him off the pitch. That way it'll only be a mentality type of training. So we're looking to, in this case, make Te Avest a resolute player. Great. Okay, he's accepted that. So there's one of our youngsters who we are excited about being trained. We're going to add that other chap. We're going to pull him up to the first squad, and where was our Te Avest? Should be in the first squad, as should... What's happened to that other chap we bought? Did I overlook him in the first squad? What was his position? He was a left back. This is bizarre. Maybe that transfer was for in the future. Oh, I hope not. What? Our shortlist and a defender left. He's not on the list. He's joined us. Maybe he's injured. Maybe that's what it was. Nope. There he is. He's on international duty. So he's gone to play with the Spain under-21s, and that's why he wasn't showing up on our list. But we definitely want to see if we can get some tutoring into him as well. His personality is fairly determined. That's not a very useful... being determined is nice, but it's not a particularly useful trait. Dejan Lovren is also fairly determined, but that's not a trait that we want. We'll see if Nathaniel Klein will tutor this lad. I think it will be beneficial. Oh, good. Okay. So we've managed to convince Nathaniel Klein when they're initially unwilling to accept your tutoring advice. It's unlikely that the matchup will go well, but I'd rather Nathaniel Klein tutor him than any of the other options. Oh, this is very unlikely to work. No, okay, that's fine. He's refused, his morale's gone down, but that's okay. Other options we've got, Mamadou Sakho and Lovren. Mamadou Sakho had those terrible traits, those diving. He wanted to dive into tackles, and he wanted to play his way out of harm. That's not ideal, so we're going to see if he'll tutor him off the pitch. Again, we've had to try to... Damn. Well, Lovren's our only option left. Lovren's got good determination. Argues with officials, that's not great, and tries to play his way out of trouble, that's not great either. But, let's see. Oh, wow. Alright, so Duarte's not getting anyone to tutor him. What I'll often do in this situation is try to find older players who have actually retired that we can get on a free transfer, that are capable of tutoring a player who's still young. He's young enough that we should be able to find someone to do that. Actually, probably not. Because the contract that he's on, he's set as a rotation player, it's unlikely that we'll be able to find anyone good enough to tutor him. So I'm going to give it a go after this video finishes, but I don't think it likely. Other young players that we wanted to have a look at, let's do the entire club. Emre Can. He's already ambitious. If we can find someone resolute to tutor him, okay. Ambitious. If he'll get tutored by Lucas Leiva, he'll end up a professional player, and that's exactly what we want. Okay. Chan wasn't initially excited about being tutored by Lucas Leiva, but I think I've talked him around. Hopefully it'll work. We'll see. We'll have to see. The tutoring cycle takes about 6 months, so what I might do is I might continue through this process, and when we get the results of the tutoring start coming through in 6 months' time, hopefully around the summer transfer window, I might return to this. I might do another video just to round out the tutoring, to let you see how it got on, and to do a quick run through of the summer transfer window. It's almost identical to the winter transfer window, but it's worth having a look at. See you then.